Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to see the transit results for Jupiter, Saturn, Rahu and Ketu. So you see 4 transits are happening in April 2022 and we are going to see the results of these 4 transits for each of the 12 rashis, right? Very interesting times, and very rarely do we see the 4 transits happening in a single month. Normally these transits happen uh, at different times in the year. So interestingly, in 2022 these transits are happening in the month of April. So what I've shared in this video is what is going to be the result of these transits for different rashis for the next 1 year. I don't like to look beyond 1 year time horizon because many things change, many things keep happening. So let's stick to April 2022 to April 2023, the 12-month time period, or you can say 13-month time period. What's going to happen to different rashis, right? So that's what we are going to see in this video. You may already be aware that Jupiter transits, every year, approximately 12 months. Saturn transits 2.5 years. Sometimes it transits a little longer, at 3 years. Rahu and Ketu, they transit every 18 months or 1.5 years, right? So they take different times to change signs, right? And all these things are happening in the month of April 2022. So interesting times for all rashis, right? Before we see the results for the transit for different rashis, let's see the changes that are taking place. Okay, I want to take a moment to explain the 4 transits that are taking place. This is March 2022. Okay, in fact, I am recording this towards the end of March 2022. Rahu is in Rishaba or Taurus, and Ketu is in Virchika or Scorpio. Saturn is in Makara rashi, Capricorn, and Jupiter is in Aquarius or Kumbha rashi. This is the scenario in March 2022. Now, let's see what are the changes that are taking place. On 12th April, Rahu is changing its sign. Okay, Rahu goes to Aries or Mesha rasi, and Ketu goes to Libra or Thula rasi. Rahu and Ketu, they transit in anti-clockwise position. Okay, so this is on 12th April. On 13th April itself, Jupiter goes to Pisces or Meena rashi. It transits from Aquarius or Kumbha rashi, right? This is on 13th April. Now, Saturn on 29th April, it changes its sign from Makara rashi to Kumbha rashi. This is known as actually Adichara transit. That is, Saturn moves forward in a fast forward fashion, okay, from Makar Rashi to Kumbha Rashi. This is known as Adichara transit. It's not a regular transit, okay. As I said, Saturn moves in a fast forward position, and Saturn comes back to Makar Rashi in July 2022, okay. And the Saturn's actual transit to Aquarius happens only in January 2023. Do you understand? So many changes in the next 1 year, right? And particularly in the month of April 2022, lot of changes are taking place and they are impacting all of us, all rashis. Okay, so now let's get into each of the rashis and see what the result is going to be. Okay, we will start with Mesha Rasi or Aries. If you see, Jupiter is transiting from 11th to 12th house, Saturn from 10th to 11th, Rahu from 2 to 1. This is known as Janma Rahu. Ketu is going to transit from 8 to 7, right? As I said, Jupiter and Saturn will move in a clockwise direction. Rahu and Ketu will transit in anti-clockwise direction. Okay. Now, if you see this, the transit from 10th to 11th is considered extremely positive. Okay. I have explained the results of these transits using the traffic light signs, so you can understand it easily. Okay. So Saturn transit to 11th is considered extremely positive. 11th house is the house of gains, and Saturn coming to 11th house will bestow a lot of gains to the native. Many of the Aries native people, will get married during this time, can start new businesses. If you're already in business, you can expect profits. If you're working, you can expect increment, job promotion, right? All those positive changes are going to happen due to Saturn transit from 10th to 11th house. This happens once in 30 years. This is an extremely positive transit, and Aries people should make use of this transit. Okay. Jupiter transiting from 11th to 12th is not so positive. Okay. If Jupiter is transiting 2, 5, 7, 9, and 11, it is known as Gurupala, or the strength of Jupiter. So Jupiter transiting to 12th house will give a lot of expenses, right? Whether those expenses are good or bad depends on your natal chart, right? It definitely will give a lot of expenses. There is a hidden message in that. If Jupiter is in 12th house, it will give expenses, which means it will give the money necessary to do the expenses. So there will always be inflow when Jupiter is in 12th house. That is the biggest advantage of the Jupiter 12th house transit, right? Money flow will be there, but expenses will equally be there. Watch out for it. Okay. The problem for Mesha Rashi or Aries is due to Rahu and Ketu. Ketu in 7th house is not good. 7th house is the house of spouse, business partners. So Ketu in the 7th house is not good. There can be quarrels, misunderstandings, all those kind of things are possible due to Ketu in the 7th house. Rahu in 1st house is the biggest problem for Aries. Rahu is a shadow planet, right? Rahu over Rashi, it will give unnecessary fear. Okay, please watch out for that. Take care of your mother's health also. Okay, that fear, unnecessary, needless fear, right? Fear of ghosts, fear of unknown, fear of dark places, anything and everything to do with fears, right? Some people can even get phobia, during this period. Okay, watch out. If you can, get into meditation, or start doing affirmations, do your exercises so that you stay on top of your mental health. So as far as Aries is concerned, I will only say it's a combination of best of times and the worst of times. The best of times is due to Saturn in 11th house, and the worst of times is due to Rahu in the 1st house, which is Janma Rahu. Okay. So that's as far as Aries is concerned. Let's move on to the next one, which is Taurus or Rishaba Rashi. Here, Jupiter is transiting from 10th house to 11th house. This is an extremely, extremely positive transit. Okay. Just with this 11th house transit, you can achieve a lot of things in your life. Okay. So please remember that. Okay. 11th house is the house of gains, and Jupiter being in 11th house, many of them, will find new love, marriage, childbirth, right? People starting off new businesses, getting promotion, salary increment, new jobs, all those things are possible due to Jupiter transit in 11th house. Extremely, extremely positive. Saturn 9th to 10th is not so positive. Okay, Saturn will make you slog. Okay, be prepared to work a lot. Saturn in 10th will make you slog. You will have to work harder. You will be under the microscope of your superiors or bosses or your clients, right? They're going to demand a lot from you. Watch out for that. Okay. And the biggest relief is coming from Rahu moving from Janma Rahu to 12th. Okay. That is from first position to 12th. When Rahu was in the first position, you would have faced a lot of problems, right? Unnecessary fears, health issues to your mother, and many, many unrelated things, right? That unexpected things due to Rahu in first house. So all those things are going to go away, right? In fact, for those who work in multinational companies, who deal with companies in foreign locations, export import, Rahu in 12th is beneficial. Okay. Ketu coming to 6th, I'll say it's an average transit, right? The fact that it is coming out of 7th position is in itself a good one. Okay. When Ketu was in 7th, it would have led to disappointments, quarrels, misunderstandings, with your spouse, business partner, and the like. So all those things are now going to be there. Okay. So Ketu coming to 6th house is beneficial because it is coming out of the 7th position. As I said, the biggest benefit of this transit is Jupiter moving from 10th to 11th and Rahu coming out of the Janma Rahu position. These two in itself should give you lots of benefits, because if you don't have new problems in life, that's a good situation, right? We all have problems. Problems become unmanageable when new problems enter and new problems interact with older problems, right? So be assured you are going to have very less number of new problems, right? So watch out for Saturn 9th to 10th. Okay, it's going to make you slog, and under any circumstances, do not put in your papers or resign your job until and unless you have a firm offer in hand. Okay, that's a warning I want to give to Taurus or Rishaba rashi people. Okay, now let's look at Mithuna rashi or Gemini. For Mithuna rashi, Jupiter is going to transit from 9th to 10th house, Saturn from 8th to 9th, Rahu from 12th to 11th, Ketu from 6th to 5th. The biggest benefit in all these transits is coming from Saturn's transit. Okay, Saturn is going to transit from 8th to 9th house. That's an extremely beneficial transit. While 9th house Saturn is not all that great, the fact that Saturn is moving away from 8th house is a great escape for Gemini. In 8th house transit, Gemini people have experienced innumerable hardships, be it profession, relationship, money matters, and this happened during the Corona time frame, right? So there is always the added problem area for them. So their Gemini Rashi's troubles are coming to an end. Okay, so that's a big, big relief. So 8th to 9th house transit. And Jupiter moving from 9th to 10th is a what I will call as an average transit. Okay, 9th house transit Jupiter provided some relief to Gemini people from 8th house Saturn's ill effects, right? This 9th house transit was extremely beneficial by way of being a protective cover to Gemini people. Okay, so it's moving to 10th house, but thankfully Saturn is moving away from the 8th house, right? So Jupiter in 10th, is not all that beneficial. Can expect problems in profession, right? Professional problems will be to the fore. Okay, but things will be under control because Saturn has moved away from the 8th house, right? Things will definitely be under control. Rahu coming to 11th house. 11th house is the house of gains. Rahu acts like Saturn, right? Saturn in 11th house is good. Rahu in 11th house is also good. So Gemini people can expect a lot of benefits in the form of profits, new jobs, uh, getting increments and other forms of gains. Okay, so 11th house Rahu is good. Ketu coming to 5th house is quite average. You can't expect a great result from this transit. Okay, so Ketu in 5th house is very, very average. So the key point for Mithuna Rashi or Gemini is Saturn is moving from 8th to 9th. Okay, Saturn in 8th house called as Ashtama Sani, big relief, to Gemini people. Okay, and Jupiter, going to 10th is not so great, right? But Rahu, coming to 11th house is a good transit. So in all, a mixed bag for Gemini, right? But more positives and some negatives. Things will be under control. It will not be uncontrollable like when Saturn was in the 8th house. Okay, that's something relief for the Gemini people. Okay, now we come to Kataka Rashi. Here, Jupiter is going to transit from 8th to 9th. That's an extremely positive transit. Saturn is going to go from 7th to 8th. 8th house Saturn transit is called as Ashtama Sani. Extremely negative transit. Okay, so Rahu is going to move from 11th to 10th. 10th house Rahu is not good. From 10th house, it's going to aspect the 4th house. Domestic happiness and all those areas will be affected. Similarly, career will also be facing some issues or the other. Okay, so Rahu in 10th house is not so good. Ketu in 4th house, pretty average transit. So the key point that I want to talk about is Jupiter and Saturn. Okay, so Jupiter 8th to 9th house. 9th house is an extremely positive transit, and Saturn is an extremely negative transit. So I will sum up the results for Cancer as the best of times and the worst of times, right? But of course, it's the start of the Ashtama Sani period. Saturn is going to come back to Capricorn or Makara rashi, right, after about 4 months, somewhere in July. And in January of 2023, Saturn is going to move from Makara rashi to Kumbha rashi, right? That is Capricorn to Aquarius again, right? So I would suggest the Kataka Rashi people to make use of the next 1 year to address their problems. If you have health problems, address them. At least do a preventive health checkup. Take up meditation. Take up some exercise. If you have taken loans, see if you can repay some of them. Don't plan to start any big venture without thinking through them or discussing with your well wishers, not just once, but at least twice or thrice. Okay, don't stand as guarantor, to someone's liability or someone's loans, right? uh, don't pursue romantic affairs when the other side is not interested. All these things can be avoided, right? So Kataka Rashi people, make use of the next 1 year to address your problems as much as possible, right? So this 1 year can be like a preparatory period to face the onslaught of 8th house transit or Ashtama Sani, right? Make the best use of 9th house Jupiter. Some of you can get married as well, right? Some of you will find your life partner. Okay, all I'm suggesting is do your necessary checks, more than once. Okay, ensure if you're getting into any form of commitment, it can be a relationship, it can be a professional commitment. Do your checks. Okay, make sure that it is indeed the right one for you. Okay, all I'm saying is be prepared. Okay, because the period from 2023 can be very troublesome for Kataka Rashi people. So you will feel the the pulse of that impact, in 2022 itself, right? So it's going to be like a trailer of sorts for you. But ninth house Jupiter will act as a protective cover. Okay. So use this Jupiter period and solve your problems to the extent possible, right? There's nothing much to worry from the Rahu Ketu transit. Your problems are coming from the Saturn transit, right? When in next year, that is in 2023, mid 2023 period, Jupiter would have moved to 10th house and Saturn would be in 8th house. That is not going to be a good period. That is why I'm suggesting make the best use of the next 1 year and prepare yourself. Okay, that's on Kataka Rashi. We then move to Simha Rashi. Now coming to Simha Rashi, Jupiter is going to transit from 7th to 8th, Saturn from 6 to 7, Rahu from 10 to 9, Ketu from 4 to 3. If you see, I have given an amber signal or an yellow signal for the Leo Rashi native. If you look at other Rashis, I have given some positive and some negative too. The reason why I have given neither positive nor negative is because of the Jupiter and Saturn transits. Jupiter, the current transit, right? Jupiter in 7th house and Saturn in 6th house, helped Simha Rashi people immensely, especially in the last 6 months. Many of you would have gotten good jobs, would have changed jobs for the better, would have got good salary increments, uh, would have gotten married. Childbirth is also a possibility. Many of you would have even bought landed properties. Okay. By and large, your life would have been good. That is because Saturn in 7th house, Saturn in 6th house kills the uh, negative aspects of 6th house like enemies, debts, and diseases. Jupiter in 7th house is considered as Guru Bala, that is, the strength of Jupiter is available to the native. And these two aspects would have helped Simha Rashi people immensely. If you have experienced bad time in the last 6 months, it only means that the Dasha Bhukti period would have been extremely bad. Okay. Otherwise, there is no reason Leo Rashi people would have suffered, in the last 1 year or so, and especially in the last 6 months. However, the current transits are looking bit dicey. Okay, that is the reason I have not given a positive, outlook for any of the transits. Jupiter in 8th house is generally considered not very auspicious. However, Jupiter is transiting to its own house, which is very good. So, Simha Rasi people can expect sudden gains, unexpected monetary benefits, and along with it, sudden ups and downs as well. Sudden ups, maybe we like it, but sudden down in whatever we are doing is not always good, right? So, eighth house is notorious for the suddenness, right? It can mean up, it can mean down also. We have to see the your natal chart to determine how big that up is or how big that down is going to be, which is why Jupiter in 8th house is challenging for anyone. However, for Simha Rashi people, because Jupiter is friendly with the Rashi Lord Sun, it will be manageable and they can even expect some positive outcome like sudden gains. This is especially beneficial for people who deal with export import, uh, foreign countries, companies or people in foreign lands, or even outside your home state. For those people, this Jupiter transit will be beneficial. However, the Saturn's transit is not positive at all. Okay, the biggest challenge for Simha Rashi people is coming from the Saturn's seventh house transit. From seventh house, Saturn will cast its drishti or aspect directly on the Rashi. That is not good. Saturn's drishti is considered malefic. In fact, it is due to Saturn transit that Leo Rashi people will face some problems here and there, but things will be under control. It is not like an eighth house transit, or Ashtama Shani or Janma Shani, right? But still, not a good transit because Saturn is going to look at the rashi directly. Okay, Rahu in ninth and Ketu in third, not going to have a big impact on the native. As such, these are shadowy planets. They behave like the lord of the house, in which they are positive, right? Rahu in ninth and will give rise to issues with your father and father side relatives. Ketu in third house, a malefic in third house is good, so should not be a major hassle for Leo Rashi. I'm again repeating, the challenge for Leo Rashi is coming from Saturn transiting to seventh house. Okay, the full transit is happening only in January 2023. Leo Rashi people will see a trailer of that for a few months, starting April until July. Okay, as I said, things will be under control. It's not going to be something that can't be managed by Leo Rashi people. Okay, a key thing to notice: the Leo Rashi people need to manage their relationship, with superiors, right? Need to manage their relationship with fatherly figures. Need to manage relationships with government agencies. Okay, don't allow ego to come in. Okay, uh, last but not the least, if you're working and you're dependent on the income from your job, do not resign without a firm offer in hand. Now we will move on to Kanya Rashi or Virgo. There are two big positives to Kanya Rashi people. In fact, Kanya Rashi is one among the few Rasis that are going to experience very positive outlook and very positive experiences due to these transits. That is because Jupiter is going to transit from sixth house of enemies, debts, and diseases to seventh house of friends, partnerships, and life partner. This is an extremely positive transit. People who have had issues in their married life will now see that those issues are resolved. People can look forward to getting married, and you can also expect childbirth, depending on the age and other factors. But generally, a very positive transit. If someone is looking for a job, highly likely the individual is going to get a job of their liking. Job promotions, uh, profits in businesses are also indicated. Jupiter transit is aided big time by Saturn's transit. In fact, I'll rate Saturn sixth house transit bigger than Jupiter's seventh house transit in terms of the positive benefits both the transits are going to bestow on the Virgo natives. Okay, sixth house Saturn will kill the negative aspects of the sixth house of diseases, enemies, and debts. You are definitely not going to have newer problems entering your life. Okay, in spite of these things, if you are going to experience bad results, it only means that your dasha bhukti period is not good. Okay, normally the dasha bhukti impact is about 60% and transit is about 40%. Okay, this is again thumb rule. Okay, Rahu and Ketu are shadowy planets and their impact is relatively lower compared to Jupiter and Saturn transit. However, Rahu coming to 8th is not very positive. 6, 8, and 12 are considered as hidden houses. Rahu's position in 6th and 12th house is generally considered good, but not in 8th house. 8th house is about hidden things, is about the suddenness in life. All those things can get activated. Ketu in 2nd house is also not a very positive one because 2nd house is about income, immediate family, and what you speak. Please watch out for what you speak during the next 18 months. Okay, so Rahu and Ketu is not very positive, but they are not very negative either because, as I said earlier, Rahu and Ketu are shadowy planets. Jupiter and Saturn transits are extremely positive for Virgo. I will even add extremely positive. Okay, I'm adding superlatives. That's the kind of benefits you can look forward to. I will say make the best use of it. Okay, If you're planning to get married, this is the best time. If you're planning to change job, this is the best time. If you're planning to start a new venture, this is the best time, right? Make the most of it and succeed. Okay. For Thula Rashi, Jupiter is transiting from 5th to 6th, Saturn from 4th to 5th, Rahu from 8th to 7th, Ketu from 2nd to 1st. Jupiter in 5th house is considered extremely beneficial. So, in the last 6 months or so, Thula Rashi people would have enjoyed a relatively stable time, okay, if not a great time. I'm saying relatively better time, if not a great time, because Saturn in 4th house is known as Ardhashtama Sani, that is half the effect of 8th house Saturn or Ashtama Sani, and Rahu in 8th house is nearly equivalent to 8th house Saturn. So it is due to Rahu and Saturn's position. You would not have had a great time in the last 2.5 years or so. However, in the last 6 months, Jupiter in 5th house would have given you some relief. Okay. However, what is the prognosis for the next year, next 12 months? Jupiter is transiting from 5th to 6th. That is not considered a good placement at all. However, Saturn and Rahu both are coming out of their difficult positions. Saturn is moving from Ardhashtama Sani to 5th house, and Rahu is moving from the 8th position, which is not considered good at all, to 7th position. Rahu in 7th house, might cause some misunderstandings with business partner and even life partner, but nothing untoward is expected. Things will be under control. However, Ketu in first house is not considered good because it can give a lot of a feeling of dejection, okay, and despondency to the native. Ketu is a spiritual planet, and Ketu in Rashi uh, doesn't inspire confidence, to the individual. That is the sad part of Ketu being in first house. So all in all, a mixed bag for Thula Rashi people for the next 1 year, that is from April 2022 to April 2023. Keep your investments under check. Don't go overboard with spending. If you're changing jobs, think once or twice. Consult with your elders. This is not the best of times, to find your life partner. Take care of your health, okay, and try to keep things under control, because Jupiter is not looking good. Ketu in Rashi, Rahu in 7th house, okay. So you need to manage these somewhat negative transits, okay. The most important thing that I would like to highlight to Thula Rashi people is you need to manage relationships better, especially with your spouse or business partners. Okay, because Jupiter in 6th house and Rahu in 7th house can cause friction. Okay, in married life. So please take care of that. Don't speak harsh words or think before you speak, is what I can suggest to Tula Rashi native people. Okay, but do note that Saturn coming out of Ardhashtama Sani and Rahu moving out of 8th is considered a good thing, although their movement is not great. Okay, 5th is not a greatest of position for Saturn, and 7th is not the greatest of positions for Rahu. However, because they are moving out of their difficult positions, that in itself will give some kind of relief to Tula Rashi people. Okay, so all in all, a mixed bag. Keep things under control. Take care of your health. Take care of your married life. Okay, try to keep things under control. That in itself can lead to a lot of issues being managed in the next 1 year or so. Okay, for Virchika Rashi people, Jupiter is moving from 4th to 5th, Saturn from 3rd to 4th, Rahu from 7 to 6, Ketu from 1 to 12. In my opinion, Jupiter moving from 4th to 5th is extremely positive, as is the case with Rahu and Ketu transit also. Rahu moving from 7th to 6th and Ketu from 1 to 12 are also extremely positive transits. Virchika Rashi people have been suffering for a while now, even from 2014 time frame itself, because the effect of Sade Sati or 7.5 Saturn was extremely severe on Virchika Rashi people, right? Because Moon is debilitated in Virchika Rashi, and Mars and Saturn are sworn enemies, right? So 7.5 Saturn is usually very difficult for Virchika Rashi people. And just when you thought you were coming out of the 7.5 Saturn, you got this Ketu in the first house, right? Janma Ketu, and Rahu in the seventh house. So Virchika Rashi people, I would say, have had an extended 7.5 period, right? Which only meant their troubles, issues, and problems were prolonged, right? As I said, for nearly 8-9 years, Virchika Rashi people haven't had a good time. Okay, and that is a fact of life. Okay, if you have any Virchika Rashi friends, or you yourself is a Virchika Rashi person, you will know that, right? Last 8-9 years, things have not been good for you. Okay, however, things are going to change, and change for the better from this April onwards. That is because Jupiter is moving to the fifth house. Fifth house is the house of progeny, luck, and lot of good things, right? Because that is a trine position, 159. So Jupiter in fifth will help you to settle down in your life, be it marriage, be it job, be it you're running a business, be it you're looking for investment, okay, or resolving issues with family members. Whatever be the thing, Jupiter in fifth house will bring the luck that you have been looking for in life for a long time now. Okay, what is going to aid the Jupiter transit is the transit of Rahu and Ketu. Ketu moving out of the first position, or Janma Ketu in itself is very good, right? Ketu in 12th is not the greatest of positions, but the fact that Ketu is moving out of the first position, or the Rashi in itself, that transit in itself will give lot of relief to Virchika Rashi people. See, we human beings, okay, don't want big things in our life. If new problems don't enter our life, we consider our life as peaceful, because we are used to certain problems, right? We live with those problems. If new problems enter our life, we become agitated, we become unsettled. That's what would have happened to Virchika Rashi people, in the last many years. It's almost like new problems keep on coming. That will not happen going forward. Okay, I suggest all Virchika Rashi people to shed the negativity. Okay, to shed that air of despondency and start moving forward in life with confidence. Okay, this is not a motivation lecture. I'm saying this purely on the transits. Good times are definitely there. I'm suggesting these things because I have seen many Virchika Rashi people go through a lot of troubles, and in fact they feel that their future will also be filled with troubles. Okay, it's not going to be the case. Okay, your good times are starting. Jupiter in fifth house is an extremely lucky position. So I sincerely wish the best for Vrishika Rashi people, because I know of all the Rashis, you have suffered a lot, okay, for an extended period of time. That will end, and with the Jupiter transit and with Rahu and Ketu moving away, it will help you immensely. Saturn in fourth house is not the greatest of positions, but you don't have to worry. It's not as bad as your eighth house or your Janma Shani position. Okay, so thumbs up, three cheers to Vrishika Rashi people. Things are looking ahead. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is Dhanush Rashi or Sagittarius. For Dhanush Rashi, the biggest event is Saturn moving from second to third. That is the end of 7.5 or Sade Sati, right? So that is a big event that is going to help you immensely. The other thing is Rahu is moving from 6th to 5th. Rahu in fifth, although it's not considered extremely positive, it can give you luck, okay, gains, and gains especially through speculation, right? So these are positive things. Jupiter moving from third to fourth will also help you, okay? Jupiter in third is not considered good at all, okay? Jupiter in fourth is also not the best of times, but not as bad as third, okay? So please keep this in mind. An important aspect that I want to highlight is, if any of you are trying to change your job, okay, change your job only when you have a firm offer in hand, okay? Don't resign without an offer in hand. This is a key message that I want to give to Dhanush Rashi people, and the same holds true for those in business as well, right? Uh, you know you may decide to pledge your business or sell your existing business to get into something new, okay? Don't go for that. I will suggest you wait, hang on for a year more, okay? When Jupiter comes to fifth house, you can go for those expansionist and risky things, okay? This is not the time for risky ventures, but things will be under control. As I said in earlier, I don't expect new troubles to enter your life, okay? Jupiter in fourth house is dicey, so try to keep things under control, okay? The fact that Saturn is getting out of second is a huge thing, right? The end of Sadesati. So you don't need to worry. Things will start moving forward. You are going to build the foundation for what is going to happen in 2023 and beyond. In 2023, Saturn would have gotten out of Sadesati completely, and Jupiter would have moved to fifth house. So use the foundation that you're building now to launch your life, okay, in 2023. So remember, what you're doing now is a period of rebuilding, okay? Problems are going to go away, so use this period to rebuild your life, okay? Rebuild your life in whichever area that requires the rebuilding, right? Things are looking ahead, your troubles are over, right? But don't go overboard. That's the key message, okay? Coming to Makara rashi or Capricorn, Jupiter is moving from second to third, and Saturn is moving from first to second, Rahu from fifth to fourth, Ketu from 11th to 10th. Here, the important event is Saturn moving from 1 to 2. Though Sadesati is not considered as over, the fact that Saturn is moving from first house in itself is a great relief. Janma Shani, that is when Saturn transit over your Rashi, and Ashtama Shani are considered the most difficult of one's time when it comes to stress, right? That stress could have come from any aspect of your life, your health, your business, your finances, your relationship. It could have been anything depending on your natal horoscope, okay? So that extreme stress period is going away, which is why I'm showing a green light here, okay? As I said, Sadesati is not over, 7.5 is not over yet, but you are getting out of an extreme stress event, okay? So use this time to rebuild your life, okay? I know the Janmashini happened during the time of Corona. Corona in itself is an extremely stressful event, right, for everyone. I'm not talking about just the people who are infected with Corona, as a disease, right? Even those who are not infected suffered, right? It could be finances, job, business, relationships. A lot of sufferings were there, due to Corona, right? We were all stuck in one place. We could not communicate with other, right? We were all doing virtual communication, which is not as effective as a one-to-one or a personal communication, right? So that in itself, that kind of virtual communication itself would have led to a lot of relationship issues, right? So on top of that, you had Janma Shani. So an extremely difficult period. You have gotten out of it now, or almost the fag end of it, okay? So take solace in the fact that, your worst is over, your worst is behind you, okay? Make use of this time to prepare for better times. I'll say use this period to build a strong foundation in your life, okay? Rahu coming from fifth to fourth, okay, can give to issues with mother and mother side relatives. Ketu in 10th can give a sense of despondency, uh, uh, you know, uh, dejection in your professional life, but nothing will get out of hand. It won't be as bad as your Saturn in first or Janma Shani. That's the key thing I want to say. In the last 6 months, Jupiter in second house, would have given some kind of relief to some people, not all, okay, to some people, because Jupiter in second is considered as Gurupala, the strength of Jupiter is there. That Jupiter is moving to third house. Third house Jupiter is not considered, a positive transit. Okay, so a mixed bag for Makara Rashi. The silver lining is Saturn moving out of Janma Shani to second house. So I expect Makara Rashi people to make use of this opportunity and move forward in life. Okay, use this period to rebuild your life. Don't lose your confidence. Okay, your worst is behind you. Not giving this as a motivation thing. I'm saying this based on your transits. Okay, should always look for the silver lining, and the silver lining is Saturn coming out of Janma Shani. Okay, let's move to the next one, which is Kumbha Rashi or Aquarius. Kumbha Rashi is going to enter the Janma Shani period, which you may already be aware can be a stressful period, and that stress could come from any part of your life, your relationship, money, business, job, health, can be anything. Okay, that depends on your natal chart. Okay, always that element of surprise is there. You may think that you can take all the precautions in the world, right, to protect your Janma Shani, but that element of surprise always comes, and that's Saturn, right? You can't prepare for Saturn's unleashing of its power, right? Like, we can only pray. However, Jupiter is moving to second house. That is a big relief for Kumbha Rashi people. Okay, Jupiter in second house is Gurupala. Many of you, that is those who are in marriageable age, could get married, because first house Saturn, though it is a stressful period, is also a period when new relationships or new karma enter your life, right? So you could get married if you are in the marriageable age, or if you have a son or daughter. Okay, you could look forward to getting your son or daughter married. Don't think that Saturn Janma Shani, Saturn in first house won't allow such good things to happen. No, please understand that Saturn in first is a stressful period. That stress can be positive or negative depending on the strength of your natal horoscope, right? What can be a positive stress and what can be a negative stress? You losing a job is a negative stress, right? What can be a positive stress? You arranging for the marriage of your son or daughter all alone. Your spouse, unfortunately, is not in a position to help. That is a positive stress, right? Or you get a promotion where responsibilities are thrusted on your move to your new location. You got an enhanced position and an enhanced salary, income level. However, the stress of new place, new job, added responsibility, positive stress, right? So don't think that only negative will happen during Janma Shani or first house Saturn. Please keep this in your mind. There are a lot of negative things floating around, right? Stress will be there. That's the key thing of Janma Shani. Whether it is positive or negative depends on the strength of your natal horoscope. And specifically for the next 1 year, okay, things are not looking bad for Kumbha Rashi. In fact, it is looking good. Okay, Jupiter in second house, aided by Rahu in third house, right, are extremely positive transits that will give cushion, okay, to this Saturn moving to the Janma Shani for about 6 months, in the course of 1 year, right? I will strongly suggest to Kumbha Rashi people to build a strong foundation, right? So if there is an opportunity to foreclose a loan, go for it. If there is an opportunity, that you can take care of your health, you can start regular exercising or doing meditation or even going for preventive health check. Okay, do that, because to the extent possible we need to protect ourselves, right? We need to manage this Janma Shani. Astrologers can say so many things, right? They can say good, they can say bad, they can say so many things. It is you who has to face the world, right? So use this 1 year to prepare yourself. If there are issues, with your relations, try to amend them, right? You can do all these things so that you are in a better position to handle the stress that is going to come from Janmashan, right? Ketu in ninth house, could lead to issues with your father and father side relatives and even with your managers. Okay, so just take care of that. That's the key thing that I want to say. Now coming to Meena Rashi or Pisces, Jupiter is transiting from 12 to 1, Saturn from 11 to 12, Rahu from 3 to 2, and Ketu from 9th to 8th. Normally, Jupiter transit over Rashi or Jupiter transit into the first house is not considered good. It is called as Janma Guru and it is generally considered negative. However, for Meena Rashi, because Jupiter is the lord of the Rashi, it is considered a very good transit. Rashi Lord coming to its own sign is a very good aspect. The fact that Jupiter is a benefic and Jupiter coming to first house is an extra beneficial thing for Meena Rashi native. From first house, Jupiter is going to aspect the fifth and ninth house, and that is going to help Meena Rashi people immensely. Okay, so you can look forward to a fabulous next 1 year. Don't worry about the start of Sadeshati because it is normally the middle period, that is Saturn over first house or Janmashani, that is considered a difficult time period. Okay, Saturn in 12th house will give rise to expenses. When I say expenses, the hidden meaning in that is you are going to have income to manage that expenses. Okay, that is the key aspect of Saturn in 12th house. Okay, as an added precaution, please take care of your health, but be assured things are not going to get out of control. Okay, Rahu and Ketu are shadow planets. That is, they don't own a house on like other planets, and hence their impact is not as big as Jupiter or Saturn transit. Rahu coming to second house, mind the words that you speak. Okay, you need to take care of your speech because second house denotes income, your immediate family, and also speech. Okay, of all the transits that are happening for Pisces, Ketu's eighth house movement is the most difficult one. Eighth house involves sudden ups and downs, disappointments, accidents, and even humiliations. Don't worry too much about it because you have the protection of Jupiter being in the first house. From first house, Jupiter is going to aspect the other two trines of fifth and ninth house. So things will be under control. So all in all for Meena Rashi, okay, it's going to be a very good 1 year due to these transits. Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover in this video. Thanks for watching and I will see you in another video. Best of luck.